What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you guys know, I am chasing the best shifting experience for the TL. Last video I installed the hybrid racing shifter cable bushings. All right, here we go. Oh, that actually feels really good. Holy shit. Going from gear to gear, it made engagement feel a little bit more firm, so it was definitely an improvement. In today's video, we'll be installing the Billet Aluminum Shifter. This one I have is the knockoff version, but it is a lot cheaper than the high quality ones that you get from Hybrid Racing and K-Tunes. This shifter is similar to those ones and have similar adjustability. We should be able to adjust throw from gear to gear, change the height of the shifter, and engagement should be more crisp and notchy. In theory. You never know with these knockoffs, and in the process I'll let you guys know if it's worth it or not. I figure I can test it out, and if I don't like it at all, I can always revert back to stock. This particular shifter seems to be a knockoff of the K-Tune version. I can't say much about the quality of the other ones, but most likely they're high quality, and usually with car parts you get what you pay for. Knowing that, I wanted to upgrade it a little bit and add some quality wherever possible. Decided to add some thread locker to every single bolt that was removable. This should prevent bolts from coming loose and add an extra layer of reliability. We really don't want this thing to come apart while driving. I also bought some solid aluminum shifter base bushings with the OEM setup. Those base bushings are rubber and they do deteriorate over time. This should help tighten up the whole shifter assembly and have less unnecessary slop and movement. As for the build quality itself, it seems to be perfectly fine. It does come with some included hardware, so we do have to figure that out. Not gonna lie, it's put together fairly well. There's nothing super loose or concerning, but it does get scraped up fairly easily, which makes me believe it's made of lower quality aluminum. Just handling it and accidentally bumping it around, I can already see small scratches and imperfections, even though it came out of the box looking perfect. But with all the negatives out of the way, it really is built pretty solid, and I'm really curious how it's gonna hold up in the long run. Seems like installation is pretty straightforward. We gotta remove the armrest, anything around the shifter obviously, and maybe some of the center console. And with all that being said, let's get on with the installation already in progress. We're gonna have to get to the shifter. I've done this about, I don't even know, 3 times where I had to remove this, and the radio. When I did the Nexus 7 mod, I had to take everything out to figure out the whole wiring, but this is basically how you do it, guys. In the armrest, just lift it up and get this junk out. And I actually have a rubber mat in here, but there is about like 2 bolts in there. Yep, there's 2 bolts. I'm missing one, no idea why, but unbolt those 2, unclip this and this, those aluminum trims. There should be a whole bunch of bolts all right there, yeah, on both sides. I think to have room, we're gonna have to take this off and this off also. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's really easy. Just unbolted everything that I showed you guys. I pushed this all the way back. Now I have more access to this area, which is the most important area. About to unclip these heated seat buttons. And it looks like when we get in here, there's one right there. I think that's it. Just one, this one and this one. Take out both panels. I know it takes a little bit of force, so it's gonna sound like it's gonna break. Let me get to it. Alright, so I was really trying to avoid this, but I think this ventilation stuff has to come out. This is just stuff that goes towards to the back seat so that it has air. Leaving my wires like this is a little compartment area along with the shifter. I'm just gonna leave it to the side because I do have wires for my Nexus 7 mod. I don't want to mess it up, so I don't want to start unplugging things. It's like all tucked in here. I'm just gonna move it to the side. Hopefully it doesn't get in the way. If it does, then I'm gonna have to disconnect it. Doesn't look like it's getting in the way. We mostly have access, but yep, these ventilation things has to go. All right, that was actually pretty easy. It unclipped from this here, this little thing right here too, and basically just lift it up towards this way. There is a little hole right here for the ventilation. It just clicks on. Now we actually have a good amount of access. That was actually pretty easy. This, I'm struggling to take this off. There might be something like holding this piece in right here, but right now it's not getting in the way. Looks like we're almost there. We have to take off, I think, this little harness too. It's connected to the plastic shifter along with this side also. Looks like this white zip tie thing that's connected to the shifter, and with this cable right here that's connected to the shifter box, I think you can get access to it underneath. So these bolts can come off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. How's the camera angle for you guys? Yeah, it looks a little better. So these bolts are 12 mils, and looks like the harness that's connected to it. Hopefully we'll be able to lift it up and just pop it right off. Yeah, it's gonna take forever, guys, so I'm gonna end up just using a drill. All right, just got those 4 12mm bolts. Once you get it out, you'll have access. And now with these 2 harnesses, one right there, one right there, for this one, I was able to lift it up just like that. I took a flathead, put it underneath, and then pulled, and should be okay with the other side, but because of, you know, this piece, I had to just pry it off. It is damaged, but it's all good. We'll just zip tie it to the billet aluminum shifter if needed. And pretty basic design. Looks like this needs to come off and this needs to come off. This has like a little C-clip, I believe. This little rod right here is being held in by a cotter pin. Seems like a really easy removal. This shifter is actually pretty solid. I don't have any complaints about it, but we're trying to improve it. And one thing to improve is these bushings right here. I did show you guys, I got the aluminum bushings, and check this out, guys. Like, this thing actually moves like pretty easily. That's a lot of slop, and we don't want that. So glad I bought those aluminum bushings. They're definitely gonna help with the base. If it's really sloppy, you'll see the base move a lot, which equals a really sloppy shifting experience. So if you guys are doing this, I would definitely recommend to get aluminum bushings also. Watch out, guys, this just came flying off, so be careful. It's like a ring or washer or something. All right, so I'm at this point where I'm trying to take this off. It does take a little bit of work with a flathead. Start twisting it up, and you should have enough room for like leverage. Now we can grab the whole piece, and it's a lot easier. But with this one, I have no idea how to take it off. It's plastic, I think, so I'm not trying to damage it. I'm not trying to poke around too much, but I'll try to figure it out. Underneath the shifter is this paper clip looking thing here. I think it's just as easy as this. Looks like we just have to raise it from both sides. I'll try to do this one-handed, or move it to the side. Oh, there it goes. Oh, I had a little scare, guys. Believe it or not, it was actually right here. I have no idea how it got here, but at least I didn't lose it, right? So here we go. And then this rod should just come right off. I think you have to push it in. All right, we're good. This is good to go. So I'm literally stuck right here. I have no idea how to take it off. I don't want to pry it too hard because it is plastic. I don't want it to shatter in a million pieces. All right, guys, so after about 5 minutes of little research, finally figured out how to remove this part. Basically have to twist it counterclockwise, so there's an area to grab right here in the bottom. So what I did was I grabbed needle nose pliers, be able to grab the top and bottom, twist it, and you're gonna hear a click, and then right then you twist it a little bit more by hand, just like that, and then up. Whew. All right, finally we're good to go, guys. Alright guys, so I got the old fugliness and the new hotness over here. Taking a look at the part to make sure it is, you know, 100% matched, and it does look like they match. Yeah, this looks so much better guys, so much. And there is small amounts of adjustability where it's like the rod height, but also the short shifter ability. And one thing I did notice was this mount right here. This one is a lot different. So I think this is why they give this one right here, this piece. So we do have to swap this out over here. Also, I finally figured out why we have this, because it's for this piece right here. So it's gonna go just like that. So it matches up with the OEM. So I do have to install this piece along with these two bolts right here, along with thread locker. So do need to do that. But it's good to compare to make sure everything fits. Like I said, nothing wrong with this. This was really good. Hopefully this adds an extra level of adjustment and I'm able to tighten things up a little bit, make shifts a little bit shorter. It's gonna be slightly adjusted, nothing too crazy that deviates far from OEM. Yeah, I'm not even sure what this does. This looks like it just bolts right in. Maybe to hold this piece, but either way I'm gonna put thread locker and tighten it up just for safety. Looks like there's an extra piece over here. This is because OEM doesn't have it and this has it. So I'm not 100% sure why it's like this. We'll find out when we install it. So we figured out our jobs. We gotta put this in along with the two bolts and this in. We gotta swap it out. Figured it out. This was to tighten this middle area right here, because there was a lot of play before. Now there isn't. All right. Alright guys, so the OEM setup is the top one. If you guys are buying this exact one, I'm not sure what this does. It might have a little adjustability when the rod goes through right here into here, but I'm going to keep it as OEM as possible, and maybe later down the line I'll adjust it. As for this piece right here guys, don't fully bolt it yet. Just look at the OEM setup, which is right here. The old one has a cotter pin, if you guys remember. There's no cotter pin here, so we have to wait until we put that cable in. So we're gonna have to take this off, slide in that cable, and it should just bolt up like that with the cable already installed in the middle, and then put this lock nut right there. I'm going to use thread locker afterwards, and it should just hold in right there. As for the shifter bushings, I'm just going by the OEM setup, which is, it's gonna go like that, and another one inside facing like that. I do already have a bolt, and it's pretty much gonna go like that. I'm gonna use the OEM bolts, and it's literally what the OEM setup is. Because if you take a look at it, a circle part, and then the bushing stands out a little bit. Same thing on the inside, a little bit of the bushing is showing. I could pop this out and use it with the billet aluminum one, but as you can see there is some slop, so this is why we're gonna go with this setup. Alright guys, just test fitting it real quick, and it seems like everything is lining up okay. Usually with these cheap knockoffs, they always have fitment issues. The whole point of doing this mod was to get a more notchy feeling, but also decrease the amount of throw. So in order to do that, you just twist the whole mechanism and then lock it in with the nut. In order to get a shorter shift, you have to lower it down. So this is something that I do have to play with. I do want something of a little bit shorter throw than OEM, but nothing too short where I might money shift by accident. So I can get used to it in increments. I don't want to deviate too much from the OEM setup. But yeah, everything seems to line up. I already showed you what I'm gonna do with the bushings. If I have any issues, I'm definitely gonna let you guys know. Installation is the same as removal. So let me get to work and I'll show you the final results. So it's been a week since the install, and now I feel like I can give you guys a good review. Right off the bat, I do need to tell you guys about the negatives. This thing does not come with any instructions. No paperwork, nothing. So most of the time when I had an issue, I did have to look it up. Also, since there's no instructions, I assumed I had to tighten every single bolt. But there was one bolt that shouldn't be tightened, or else the shifter will feel super stiff. It's this one right here to the right of the shift lever. I had that super tight and tried shifting into gear and wondering if something went wrong, or if this thing's already broken. Took me a couple minutes to realize the issue. You just want it to be slightly loose. One more issue was the adjustable height lever. Since it is height adjustable, you don't usually want to put Loctite on those bolts in case you want to adjust the height later. But this thing came loose on me. The shift lever had a lot of rotational play, so I retightened those bolts. I assume those bolts naturally came loose on its own due to shifting. I don't see myself adjusting this that often, so I'm gonna add Loctite to those bolts if it happens again. And as for the quality of this thing, it does show damage pretty easily. Scratches and scrapes are noticeable. Those definitely not made out of quality metals. Understandable since this thing is fairly cheap compared to the other options. In neutral, it does have a small amount of play. Not a big deal because it's really only 1 or 2 millimeters and it doesn't wobble while driving. Now, most of these issues are really minor, but it is something to be mindful of. And I did forget to mention on the bottom of the lever, I did grease it up along with this piece right here, where anywhere it moves, which is underneath there, the little rod that's over on this side, and see this little bushing right here. So 3 spots that I greased. Feel free to throw a little bit of grease in there just to help it minimize the friction and decrease the amount of wear. Just wanted to show you guys what it will look like shifting from first all the way to 6 and reverse, so you can see a driver's point of view. So it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and reverse. Now moving on to some of the good stuff. This thing actually looks pretty sweet. It's nice and shiny, not too light or heavy, and with the additional shifter base bushings, there's literally no flex at all. If you just kept the throw adjustment the same as stock, this thing would still feel like it's an upgrade. Right away, this thing feels notchy. The throws are crisp, no issues whatsoever. Now, I didn't want to compare throw distance between OEM versus the billet shifter. I tried the longest throw setting and the shortest throw setting. The longest throw setting does feel like stock. The shortest setting is super short, and I didn't opt for this just due to me being scared of misshifting. So I ended up picking a middle ground, a setting I was comfortable with while still shortening the throws. Shifts feels so much better and quicker. Took a couple days to get used to, but after that I was pretty much good. But really, that's all for adjustment, lever height, and throw distance. I believe with the hybrid racing one, you can adjust gate spacing. Not a big deal for me, but something to note. One last thing I do want to mention, and it could be viewed as a negative or positive. I tried the billet shifter with the weighted shift knob for a few days. I gotta say, it was a little uncomfortable, for me at least. Since the billet shifter already makes shifting more notchy, the weighted shift knob adds more notchiness. Engagement to each gear requires more force. Great if you want to slam into gear, but for casual driving, it just feels unnecessary. Only time will tell if this thing will last, and I'll keep you guys updated if anything goes wrong. But overall, I really think this is a great buy. I'll leave a link down below to the exact shifter that I bought if you guys are interested. I do recommend to do what I did and add some Loctite for added insurance. Also, I do want to add a few extra things to the shifter, like a more adjustable shift lever, also some type of cover that's not a shift boot. I wouldn't want dust or even water to get into the shifter. Trust me guys, I do drink a lot of coffee, so this is a good investment. Anyway guys, that about wraps it up. I'm gonna run this setup for a while and see how it goes. But up next for shifting mods is the stainless steel clutch line. That should add a little bit more consistent feel to the clutch. Besides swapping out the clutch, I don't think there's any other mods out there to improve the shifting experience. But if there's anything else that I'm missing, let me know down in the comments below. Anyway guys, that about wraps it up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.